All right, guys, we're here for another video on conduit bending. We're gonna be covering 3-point saddles a little bit more in depth than our last time. Conduit is an art. It's not something that you can just read a book and you're like, huh, now I can bend all the conduit in the world. It's gonna take a lot of practice and trial and error to get the results that you want. So the first thing you wanna do is get the measurement of where you're connecting your pipe into, your connection point, to the center of your obstruction. Here we have something that's circular. Normally, whenever you're using a 3-point saddle, you wanna do it to go over something at a point or that's rounded off. If it's a wide obstruction, I wanna use a 4-point saddle. That's why. So here we have 31 inches to the center of our obstruction. I wanna write that down. When you're doing any kind of saddle, shrinkage is gonna be important. Shrinkage is whenever you bend a pipe and let's say you have a bunch of marks laid out. After you bend that pipe, the marks are gonna move closer to one side because the pipe is being bent, so some of that material is now going upwards, not just in a straight line. With the 3-point, for the degrees I'm gonna be using, which is 22.5, 45, 22.5, I'm gonna be using a 3/16 shrinkage, and I'm gonna be multiplying that to the offset height that I need. So my obstruction is 3 inches tall, or about 3 inches, the top of it. I wanna be probably at 4 inches is where the bottom of my pipe on the peak of that saddle I want it to be. So I'm gonna do my math of 3/16 times 4, which gives me 3/4. So my first mark is gonna be 31 3/4. One thing you also wanna measure is the width of your obstruction, because if you have a really wide pipe, you're gonna obviously need a further dimension for your outer marks. So we have 3 inches here. So I'm gonna center this line on 3 inches. And these outer marks, I'm gonna use them in a second when I get my outer mark length. Whenever we're doing the math for the outer marks, it's always gonna be 2.5 times whatever inches you're gonna be going up. Since we're doing 4, that's gonna be 10 inches. So these little outer lines that I made, I'm gonna measure 10 inches out. This one, 10 inches out. And then I'm gonna erase the little reference marks on the side of that center point. The way I like to bend my 3-point saddles is I start at the center mark and I bend my 45 first. So I wanna get my mark. I'm gonna line this up with my center notch. Center right here, there's a little dip in the bender. I'm gonna bend that to 45 degrees. Okay. I'm gonna push right through. For the second mark, I'm gonna line it up with the arrow. So it's gonna be a different mark that you're looking at on the bender. And I'm gonna rotate that like I do my offsets. Line it up so I don't dogleg it the best I can. Okay. The next one is gonna take a little finesse, especially if you got a big 10-foot pipe. What I like to do is lay it on the floor so I can get it set up in my bender, get my mark, line it up with the arrow. Once I have this somewhat snug in my bender, I want to start rotating it into place. And it's gonna take a little bit of finesse because it is a big pipe. All right, go down to 22. Okay. all works out right, you should line up pretty centered. If you notice, I didn't use a level, and it's just because when you're using a hand bender and flipping it back and forth, it's kind of impossible. It's also gonna slow you down quite a bit. What I recommend is always just being consistent with your stopping points. So for the outer bends, I use 22.5. When I went on my bender, I made sure to stop at 22.5 on the exact same spot so that that would be level after I was done, whether it was off a little bit on the degrees or not. That's all I got for 3-point saddles. If you guys want to see more content or have more questions, please put comments in the video. Let us know what you think.